did Ms. Hubbard or anyone associated with her do anything illegal to win this election?
Well, no, we believe no, and more importantly, we limited this case to what happened this election, and there was not even an allegation that Ms. Hubbard, that Representative Hubbard had anything to do with this. The entire case has been about whether the Board of Election needed to require envelopes for ballots that were cast on a machine. I mean, that basically is the biggest chunk of this case. There's some other anomalies, human errors, things that happen in every election, but the board has testified that there was nothing that would indicate to them that there was any widespread fraud or any fraud at all. And so I think we've come down to whether these requirements by the board actually enfranchise people or not. And so the good news is we've gotten a lot of information from the board. Even the parties have come to some stipulations about things, about facts on ballots, and now it's going to be solely a legal determination as to whether these anomalies or irregularities are of sufficient magnitude that people's vote and their will got overturned. And we have no evidence that there was a single vote. In fact, we had a not a board member, but the deputy director on the stand that indicated, was there any allegation whatsoever that a vote was cast in someone else's name? A single complaint, and they said no. And so we have no evidence that there's a single vote that wasn't voted by the person who said they were who they were.
But there were allegations that have been brought to the circuit attorney's office.
And there may be, and in my understanding and from the testimony, there were people who believed that there was undue influence on voters, and if that's the case, that is something that should be brought to the circuit attorney, and the board did that. They did not investigate. They don't know. They have no idea whether those allegations were true. They turned them over. There was another allegation, which was that somehow 40 absentee applications, before the judge ruled in the Sunshine Law case, were actually taken from the board. Which is a serious allegation, and those applications were given to the press, and the board has no idea how those got released, and so that was turned over to the circuit attorney's office as well.
So this case is going to come down to whether the in-person absentee ballots were done correctly.
That is the biggest chunk. That's 142 voters, and whether the failure to have electronic votes be put in an envelope, which is physically impossible, whether that would in fact disenfranchise people, when it's our belief that there is a statute that authorizes the Secretary of State and authorizes the local election authorities to store ballot materials in the electronic voting machines that were received by the federal government according to federal law. So it's our belief that federal law requires these machines. Therefore, the Secretary had the authority by statute, which says if you have these machines, you have to store the materials, and it's a safety. And the board personnel and the deputy director all testified that these electronic machines, those are safer than the mail-in absentee ballots that are more prevalent right now. But the electronic voting is safer in the sense that you come into the board, you show them everything, you show them whatever identification is required, you vote your ballot right there in front of election judges. So I'm hoping that that's not something that will be discouraged this November or ever.